Well, the chickens are laying well. That's just 1 week's worth of eggs. There's 2 rows, 2 side by side. Welcome back. It's the 30th of April 2023. So you'll have seen quite a number of videos have gone out in a very short space of time, and that was me playing catch up from the last time I was off. Things have moved on since then, I'm pleased to say, for the better. Yesterday I was at a wedding, and I'll flash you a little picture up on the screen now of me all suited and booted, which is a rare occasion. You'll never see it again. That's if I remember. I'll put you a little picture up there. But I have noticed that some of the seedlings now need potted on because they want to go into slightly bigger cells or pots now. So I've just cleared a space on the bench down in the bottom polytunnel to give me an empty tray so I can start moving stuff on and moving it across the bench as I go. I don't know how much I'm going to get done, but I'm in no rush because I've got another week off. I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody who commented on the video where I lost the seedlings. Your support and your encouragement is truly appreciated. It really is. I wasn't exactly on a downer, although I could have done without it, of course. But and I did know that there would be time to catch up with some things. And like I said in the video, even if I couldn't, I'd have just went to the garden centre or Aldi or good old home bargains, whatever, and I would have got myself some plug plants. But I do prefer to grow my own, and I did sow some more seeds. These tomatoes have came on leaps and bounds since we put them in these 6-inch pots basically, and they're looking really healthy now. Now this is unheated polytunnel, and they've been in here from day one, and they've been through war. They've been outside at Aldi where I bought them in bitterly cold winds, possibly for a week or more, gale force winds, torrential rain, the lot. Then they came in here, then they got tipped upside down, then they got repotted, and look at how they've recovered. And there's no heating in this polytunnel whatsoever. Same with the little hanging basket tomatoes at the back. So I'm not tempting fate, and I know if I get a frost I could lose these, but yeah, just a note to make. In spite of all of the bad weather we've had, these have had no cover, no protection, they've just survived. My own melons, wow, I'm flabbergasted with this. I'm going to have to pot, so what I'm going to do is leave, I've got some like with 2 in a cell, and I'm going to actually plant 2 together, in case one doesn't survive when I do plant them out. I'm going to plant these into the polytunnel. That one over there, they're like what I used to call the tree house, and I'm going to let them just sprawl over the beds where the onions are. The beans that we put in of Danny's, when we replanted some beans, so they've came through, and there's just 3 lettuces there I picked out. We've got these 2 here, but we had that big one there, it was lovely. We've got a couple here starting to heart up now, just nice small hearts, so we're just working our way through those few lettuces, and what I'll do is individually start planting 1 or 2 more behind each other so they don't all come at once. So that's what I'm trying to do this year. And then these are my cauliflowers that I've potted on, and I put them down on this bed, and they're looking really nice. Right, so I've spared you the pain of me filling up these cell trays. A note I want to make about the cheap compost that I actually get. It is lovely, soft and fine and fluffy, and it really does make a good seed potting compost as well. And I often use this for seed potting, seed sowing I should say. Seed potting. I'm going around the bend. So what I'm going to do, should have dabbling, I'm going to get on and plant these few mini col cabbages that I have here, and the pak choys are now also ready to be potted on. Right, so I was obviously exaggerating the numbers that I thought I had, but it's plenty. So we filled 1 tray, and basically what we have here is the pak choy on one side, and our 2, 4, 6, 8 mini col cabbages, more than enough, and 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11 of the pak choi, odd number. I was one short of filling this extra cell, not a big deal. And I've very lightly watered these, purely and simply because they were already a bit on the wet side and they were starting to go yellow. That's usually a sign that they've got too much water, but it can be underwatering as well. So, but with my experience, and it can be lacking nutrients as well, as in this example here. You can see these are starting to go yellow, but you can see that cell is almost bone dry, but there is water in these, so some of the cells are fairly heavyish on the other side, for whatever reason, isn't. Right, that's them all potted up. I've cleaned some of the yellow leaves off. Just point to go back on. Now I'm a rookie gardener, meaning I'm a poor amateur, as you've seen along the way. And what I tell you isn't necessarily true. However, I've found this in my learning curve, and I only started gardening late in life in the last 2 or 3 years. But what I've found is, and I still make this mistake myself, and it's just a point to note, when the plants get to this size, they do tend to need a bit more water and a bit more compost, so they need a bit more food. So to keep them going until the weather's right, you need to keep potting them up. And that's exactly what I'm doing now. But I tend to, and I've done this time and time again, I've got this plant here that's at this size, and I've got a couple of little purple cauliflowers back here that's that size. And when I'm watering these sweet corn, I tend to give them the same amount of water, but they're only little tiny plants. And what you'll do is you'll find you'll waterlog your plants and you'll lose a lot of seedlings because you're dampening them off basically. And I still make this mistake today, so this is a reminder to myself as much as anybody else. If you've got plants of varying sizes, it stands to reason that the larger plants are going to require more water, more food, and the smaller ones won't require as much water. Let them get established and get started. In fact, they actually prefer to dry back a bit, and that will bring them on. They're trying to look for water, and then you can move them up a pot and then water them accordingly. Right, let me give you an example of a rookie mistake. Brassicas tend to like quite a bit of water, but you can see I've gone overboard with this. These are purple drumhead cabbage, and some have been okay, but I've constantly watered the back, or I've watered that cell when I've been watering the larger plants thinking, oh, it needs as much water, and I've dumped them off and they've gone back. So I only have 4 or 5 of these now, which I'm going to let dry out a bit, and then I'm going to transplant those ones. Now, I said in another video that I don't normally grow peppers from seed, and that's true, I don't. I normally just go and buy a couple of pepper plants. But I had some pepper hot dwarf Roxy, and I think these are a chili, not a pepper. And I just thought, you know, I'm just going to give it a whirl at this time of year and see if they come through. And of the 8 that I planted, I have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's a 6th one there, just starting to come up. But again, I know peppers don't like it this wet, so I'm going to have to back off on the watering of these, and these will start to thrive. Peppers especially don't like to be too wet, so I need to remember that and be conscious of that when I'm doing my watering. Right, so if you make that mistake, you can potentially save the day. But what I've done is a larger pot. Yes, the seedlings are still very small, but this is the only way I can do what I'm about to attempt. I put in some dryish compost, almost dry, about halfway. And what I'm going to do is take those waterlogged plugs out, drop them in there, and the dry compost will draw the moisture away from the seedling and let the roots breathe basically and give it a fighting chance. You may still lose them, but you may save them. We'll find out in 1 or 2 episodes from now whether that actually worked or not. So just like that, and because I'm off this week, I can keep an eye on this in case it gets too dry. But I'm not going to water this. I'm literally just put it in, surrounded it with some, it's damp compost, but it's much, much drier than what it was. And this will help to draw the moisture away from the roots and give that little seedling a fighting chance. Right, so I've just uplifted these melon plants that totally unexpected. And I don't like to waste anything. And I'm not sure there's anyone would want some of these. But if anybody does live local, then give me a shout and we can give you a few melon plants. I'm not going to use all of these because they'll need that much space. I'm going to have a go at growing up a string and growing across a bed, but we'll see how that goes as we go and progress through the videos. Right, it's just suddenly dawned on me. I lost my cucumbers, didn't I? And I forgot to re-sow. So I've got a handful here, which is old seed, and well, we'll plant them all. If I end up with a glut, then so be it. But I'd rather end up with some or a glut than none at all. And on the other hand, because it's old seed, it might not germinate at all. In which case, I've still got the option of the garden centre. Right, and that concludes today's shenanigans. So we've got the mini cole potted up, cabbage, we've got the pak choy potted up. I've planted some more Kelvedon Wonder dwarf peas as a follow-on. We've got the honeydew melons all potted up, planted up. We've got the Primor 2 cabbages all potted. I've got golden burpees, beetroot in there, not germinated yet. Some more honeydew melon. I've planted some of these lettuce up into cells. These will be going out this week, hopefully, when the weather picks up a little bit. We transplanted those little Roxy hot peppers to let them dry out a bit. Danny's Blauhilde beans are coming along nicely. Little dwarf tomatoes. These turned out, I'm pretty certain, are spring onions. My own tomatoes in there just getting a drink from the bottom. Cucumbers planted, 15 seeds. We'll see what happens with that. Growy swede. I didn't get the other sweet corn potted on yet, but it's still looking okay for now. And I've just pretty much started to condense stuff here now. This is the sweet corn I did get done. This is the early bird F1. Put all the peppers together in one tray now. And yeah, just had a bit of a general tidy up. Right, hope you've enjoyed today's little video. I'm just having my final cup of coffee as usual. It's 3:45 PM. I've had enough. I've enjoyed myself, in spite of it being damp and miserable and wet out there. We were undercover and got some jobs jobbed. Happy days. So, as I've mentioned in one or two of the other videos, I'm thinking about reskinning the polytunnel, the bottom polytunnel. So if you have any sponsors out there that would like to donate some polythene, some good quality polythene in exchange for a review, I'm all ears. Drop me a message at my email address down below. If not, we'll buy it and we'll do it anyway. I've also had another idea. I'm crazy. I really am. I'm crazy. But over in the main growing area, I've done a bit of measuring up the other day. And I have 6 beds total in an area of 6 metres by 3 metres. And I was toying with the idea of another cheap polytunnel to cover those 6 beds. Now, again, if there's any sponsors out there that would like to donate a cheap polytunnel, I would be all ears and gratefully accept it in exchange for a review. And people will be able to follow along and view the builds. A lot of people are quite averse to buying these cheap polytunnels. However, my experience so far hasn't been that bad. Now, I live in a my allotment, I should say, is in a very, very remote location, and it's up on top of at least a 300-foot quarry, and it gets gale force winds, as you've seen. Now, I don't want to tempt fate, but I think if you put these things up correctly, or to the best of your ability, and anchor them down correctly, they do have a good chance of surviving. And what's more, they provide value for money, in my opinion. Some of the covers leave a lot to be desired, and they're not really good. But if you bear that in mind and factor that into the cost, and then say, well, I might have to reskin this after 12 months or 2 years, You're then only buying the plastic, assuming that the frame survives. And in my case, certainly, that has been the case. You've seen the gales we get up here and the damage that's being caused. And I don't want to tempt you, but thankfully so far I've had many years, certainly out of that bottom polytunnel, I must have had it 7 or 8 years now. It has been reskinned once, but now that cover is starting to deteriorate. But it was UV protected. It was a UV protected cover. And it was a reasonably good price. It was about 37 quid for the plastic, and yes, you've got the work of doing it yourself. But I've had value for money out of that cover, I can tell you, especially with the rattling that the winds have given it. So I'm going to stop babbling on now, and I'm going to end as always with saying thank you very much to all my subscribers, every single one of you, and all of the people who watch the videos who don't subscribe. I also appreciate all of that as well. But if you could take the time to just hit that subscribe button, which takes about 10 seconds and it's totally free, I would really appreciate it. As always, guys, wherever you are in the world, please stay safe, be practical, and keep yourselves out of harm's way. Thanks for all your likes, dislikes, comments, subscriptions, suggestions, donations. It really is appreciated. For now, wherever you are in the world, please stay safe, and I'll see you again in the next video.